Now, 24 hours after the top court ruled homosexuality as a criminal offence, the government has thrown its weight behind the LGBT community. In a strong criticism of the Section 377 of the IPC, Sonia Gandhi has called the law regressive and archaic. Even top ministers said that the order was disappointing and that the government is mulling options to reverse it.
Well, I am extremely disappointed with the Supreme Court judgment. I'm terribly sad. The High Court judgment interpreted Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code, keeping in tune with the social and moral standards today. We can't go back to 1860, when Macaulay was perhaps reflecting the social and moral standards of that day. Therefore, I'm very disappointed with the view taken by the Supreme Court.
If there is a need for it, there will be a change in the legislation. It would be brought to Parliament. What would your party's view be and what would your government's view be on that?
The legislative option remains, but that is not the only option.
What are the other options?
My party's position was reflected by the government when we instructed the Attorney General to tell the Supreme Court that the government is not appealing the High Court judgment, that we support the High Court judgment. And that is how the arguments were presented to the Supreme Court. Therefore, my government's view and my party's view are quite clear. We accept the interpretation placed by the High Court. Now that the Supreme Court has reversed the judgment of the High Court, the options are review or a curative petition and ask that the matter be heard by a larger bench of 5 judges. I think in the first place, this case should have gone to a larger bench of 5 judges.
I think this is not a law that fits in with the times. In the 21st century, you can't have antediluvian and anachronistic laws like this, as are reflected in Section 377 of the Penal Code. And I'm disappointed. And it's unfortunate that the Supreme Court has upheld the legality of that section. I think the High Court verdict was right. There are several options open to the government, and we are considering all possible options. But time is of the essence. We need to take quick action, firm action, and this government believes in both firm and quick action with respect to Section 377 of the Penal Code. And there are several possibilities, and we'll adopt the possibility which gives relief to our people the quickest. And I think there are millions out there who do not want this to be a criminal offense, especially in the context of adult consensual relationships. And we want to decriminalize what is reflected in Section 377.
Parliament must enact appropriate legislation in this, arriving at a consensus, political consensus on this. So we will discuss with other political parties and see how to take this forward.
So how soon do you think this can happen? Because already the House is not really functioning as we've seen throughout this session. How soon do you think this is practically possible to bring a bill or a law as far as this particular aspect is concerned?
Well, this will have to be decided by the Law Ministry. And as soon as the Law Ministry is ready, I'm quite happy to have discussions with all political parties on this, so that there is a consensus and in one voice, Parliament is able to enact legislation.
I have not read the judgment, so therefore I cannot comment on the merits. But suffice to say, I think we moved on in times. When the Indian Penal Code was written in 1860, those were Victorian times. And now, of course, we live in a very different era. And I do not understand as to why a consensual relationship between 2 adults should be a criminal act. Even as a lawyer, I do not understand it.
So when can this issue be brought up before Parliament?
Well, I think the prerequisite for that is that Parliament should function. And therefore, if other political parties are also serious about addressing something which is definitely not in sync with times. And of course you will have people talk about conservatism and various other value systems. But be that as it may, and with all due respect to their views, the fact is that if at all there is a relationship between two adults and it is consensual in nature, it cannot by any stretch be called criminal. So therefore I do hope that the other political parties allow Parliament to function, which would then facilitate government trying to see as to whether something is doable in this session or maybe the next.
Obviously, I'm thrilled that Mrs. Gandhi has taken the stand that she has, and so are other leaders in the Congress party doing the same. And I'm hoping that this is a cue for other parties to also respond in a similar manner. It's fabulous and I hope it continues. As far as I'm concerned, I would urge the other parties to understand the implications of what this judgment would mean, not only for the LGBT community, but also for various other minorities. It's not just an issue about LGBT, it's a question of rights and what is being abrogated. So I think they need to look at it a bit more calmly and in a considered fashion.